And welcome back to another episode of JP and the Beanstalk.
You bet. Here we are. Energy's building. In
She's
spite of the temperature falling,
she's built.
the,
Yeah.
the temperature falls, but the energy rises. So we're just bringing it. We're
Yeah.
bringing it, Beans. It's
Yeah.
great.
And we are late. We understand that. Echo came out. We wanted to make sure we had
Yeah,
to do that for discussion.
absolutely. Absolutely. We want to give ourselves an opportunity to get through that bad boy and discuss it while it's still fresh. So hit up Echo, got through What If. So a lot of good meat on the bone, as I like to say.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yep. You traveled. Good for you.
Yeah, I'm exhausted. I've gone through it. It was not great.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a fun weekend.
Yeah.
I got these sweet Spider-Mans down here.
Come on now. Some
Yeah.
new Spider-Man pops?
Yes, let me pull it out real quick.
Sure.
It's the 5-pack. Poop.
So you got a 5-pack of Spider-Man pops?
This is what I got for Christmas.
My goodness.
I didn't even remember asking for it. Like, it's been on my wish list for like 2 years.
Well, what a gift.
And so, we'll just pull this bad boy out.
Come on now.
He can
Do
stay
it.
right here.
Put him
Okay.
on the mantle.
Yeah.
How you
So-
doing?
Yes, we have Prodigy,
Okay.
Dragonfly.
Sure.
It's Dragonfly.
Okay.
That might not be right. And then the Spider-Man
Go with it.
armor, Mark 1,
Mhm.
Mark 2, and the Knight. I don't know what that one's from. Okay. These two are from when Peter Parker was not Peter Parker, when Spider-Man
Yep.
was a vigilante and wanted by everybody. So he dropped the mantle of Spider-Man and decided
Nice.
to take on 4 different alter egos.
As one does.
And so
As
each
one does.
one focused on a different one of his powers.
It's kind of like his channeling his inner Moon Knight there a little bit.
A little bit.
Sure.
So that was how he still fought crime.
Yep.
And then obviously the Mark 1, the Mark 2 armors are very straightforward. I
Mhm.
also have the Mark 3,
Mm,
my personal favorite.
sure.
And then we have a Knight,
The Arachnid.
the Arachnite.
Arachnite. So sorry,
Yes.
Mr. Arachnite.
If you're gonna say it, you've got to say it right. No, it's great. I'm very happy. Besides the fact that for some reason Funko hates making things fit the way that they're supposed to. There are pegs,
Mhm. Mhm.
and to like make sure they stand on the thing.
Right.
2 of them do not fit the way that they should.
It's one of the little frustrating.
And then I got this big one too for Christmas.
Yes.
And
He's
for
huge.
anime fans, it's Kaido from One Piece.
There you
Okay?
go.
But as you can see, he doesn't stay on the pegs.
Mm,
So there were 3 pegs because there's one peg in his giant bat,
right.
spiked bat.
As one does, they carry around the spike bat.
Yes. And for some reason, the pegs on the feet don't line up. And it's the most irritating thing. I mean, we can go to that one too, where the
Yeah.
pieces just don't fully fit. So it's my one beef.
Oh, it's a legit beef. It's a legit beef. You expect the hardware to suit the designated purpose, and when it doesn't, that's less than inspiring.
If they're lucky, the quality is good outside of that.
Right. Right.
Otherwise, I wouldn't do this.
No,
So
that'd be frustrating.
it's
Well, that's a really fun Christmas gift. That's right on the button
Absolutely.
right there. And speaking of Christmas, I think both you and I came away with a pretty good haul of reading materials for this new year. So what a delight that is.
yes, mine is downstairs. Haven't started that one yet. I got Injustice Year 5 coming to me
Yes.
on Thursday, along
Nice.
with our 2 new mic cables for our new mics
Wow.
for next episode.
Whole new year, whole new setup.
Fun fact.
What an upgrade.
I don't know about new setup. Let's
I'm gonna choose to
Slow
believe that it's
down.
new. I'm gonna choose to believe that it's new. I'm hyping it up. Hyping it up in a big way.
so
Yeah.
but yeah.
That's great.
So
I'm looking
we're-
forward to getting into some more of Hickman's Fantastic Four. I got one of Hickman's omnibuses for the New Avengers, which is supposed to incorporate the Infinity storyline. At some point, I'd like to just keep that going and build into the Secret Wars. 'Cause I know Hickman's overall run is very well regarded. So it's pretty exciting to get into some new content. Absolutely love that. But yeah, speaking of new content, we've got Echo, we've got What If. I've read some Tom Taylor, a artist that, as you just mentioned, Injustice, or an author rather, who has made his bones or made his fame on the Injustice comics run. So I think we need to throw that guy a healthy bone
Yeah.
as well. probably have a top five, right? That's what we
I
do.
think so.
Yeah. Yeah.
If it's done, is yours done?
If I find his top
Mine is. That was probably the fastest top five I've ever made in my life. So,
I love it. I love it. Well, let's get into it, Riles. What would you like to hit first, my man?
oh my
Echo, what if?
goodness.
What's your preference?
I don't have a preference.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of what would flow better, and probably Echo into our top five would flow better.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So
agree.
maybe start off with your Tom Taylor Bond,
Let's do.
and then we'll go into what if.
Let's do. Yeah.
All right.
So Tom Taylor, a little context here. At times over the course of this podcast, we've loved throwing bones to comic book authors or artists that are of particular interest to us, ones that have piqued our piqued our interest at different times. And I, over Christmas, picked myself up the Dark Knights of Steel, volumes 1 and 2, which sets the DC universe in medieval times. So that's a fun concept just in and of itself. But furthermore, it sets up Superman and Superman's parents as the ruling entities of this medieval world. And Bruce Wayne is the main man for the House of L, as it were. And so there's a real fun dynamic between Batman and Superman, per usual. Of course, Wonder Woman and Themyscira are in there and are a part of that. But it's just a really fun alternate universe take that puts the right amount of twist on these familiar characters. The art is fantastic throughout, and that always makes a big difference when the art is not distracting, but rather it adds to the story. There's plenty of twists that I wouldn't necessarily say you can't see coming, right? Some you can anticipate, but the biggest twists are genuinely surprising, which is really great. So I was pleased with our guy Tom Taylor here. And it just comes back to, hey, this is why alternate takes can be some of the most refreshing stuff to read because the stakes are a little bit, to a certain extent, I would say more high because if you kill a character off, you haven't negatively impacted all that character's history from what came before and negated the opportunity for that character to be a part of what's going to come because it's just a self-contained story and universe. And I think Tom takes takes advantage of that. Whether he should or shouldn't, who knows? But he kills a few folks. So my guy, Tom Taylor, this is the first time I've gotten into any Tom Taylor, but Riles, you've read a little bit more
I mean, the
on the Tom
Injustice.
side.
I've read the entire Injustice line.
Yep.
You got to give the guy credit. He understands the character, what people love about the character. I think with alternate takes, I think the challenging part is trying to find a balance of it's still true to the character, but
Yes.
you want to do something different with them. I
Yes.
think he rides that line well. Like you said, he knows how to kill a guy. He knows how to kill him, and he knows how to make it hurt you when even if it's not even your favorite character, right? Some of those characters in there, they builds them up,
Oh,
and they're like very vital at that point in
yes.
the story, and all
Yes.
of a sudden they're just dead, and you're like, no! Or they kill off certain key characters earlier than they're supposed to because then that is why things happen the way that they do.
There are no soft landings in terms of deaths. There's characters that get cut in half.
Uh, Punch a hole through their stomach,
Yep.
um,
Yep. Shot straight through the eye with a large arrow.
or laser beam eye.
Say stream. I mean, it's impactful in its violence, to say the least.
Right.
But I like what you said about finding that balance of knowing what makes a character, and we'll get into this a little bit actually on the Echo side, but knowing what it is, and frankly, this will flow through all of our conversation, will flow through the what if, through the Echo discussion, but knowing what it is that's foundational to that character is so critical because I think it's too easy for whether it be a author of the actual physical book or a writer of a show or a movie to twist that character to the point where it's like, okay, now the character is not even recognizable. Like it's truly not that character. You've created something entirely different. And you lose the impact when you go past that balance point. And so I think it takes some restraint, right? Because as a creative, person, you're going, "Ooh, I'd love to go further and further and further in terms of what I change and what I tweak." But I think there's a percentage, and it's not all of it, right? Not
Right.
100%, but it's probably in that 90% range of, hey, these aspects of the character stay the same, and now we're just adding a little 10% different flavoring, right? It's not a I really don't think it's that extreme. It feels, and here's what I mean by that, it feels bigger than it is,
Hmm.
but the change actually isn't it's not nearly wholesale. It's not from hero to villain per se. It's just from hero to a little different take on how they're a hero.
And it also just has to be believable. Like,
Yes.
I think that's the best part because it's still
Yes.
like, for instance, uh, Superman in Injustice, right?
Hmm.
For this guy to turn, he loses basically his entire world
Right.
for him to be
Right.
like, oh, because this happened to me, I don't want this happening to anybody else ever again.
Yes.
And goes on a rampage
Yes.
doing what he did.
Right.
And you're like, you know what? I kind of reason with you.
Right.
Because it's like, at
Right.
some point, some people would be like, why didn't you just do that in the
Right.
first place?
Got all that power.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and it's not just like no reason, this character is just totally different.
Hmm.
I think that's part of it as well.
Hmm.
And I think that's where you get like, you know, even the different versions of Spider-Man in the regular mainstream where some people are like, that's not my Spider-Man. My
Yep.
Spider-Man would never do that.
Right.
Or like
Right.
the weird character regressions or character progressions that they just have, and you're like, this is not where the character was.
Correct.
You know?
Yeah.
Peter would never save Aunt May for the sake of his marriage.
Hmm.
That's crazy.
Hmm.
But he did. And that's a story for another day. But
A rant for another day. No, I do. I think it's really it's admirable when an author is able to demonstrate that amount of restraint because he's not, you know, Tom Taylor in his writings is not just killing off characters for the sake of killing them. For example, there's purpose as far as how it drives the story, it enhances the motivations of the characters, and again, it just doubles down on the hey, here's why these kind of takes are so worthwhile because you have the repetition over decades with all of these characters when you finally get a perspective that's fresh and in the sense that the stakes are high because a character can die and that could be it. I think that's totally worth it. So no doubt. And let's see, Tom Taylor, he's got Dark Knights of Steel that came out recently. He's still working on Injustice, right? That hasn't wrapped up yet, or is year
Injustice
five?
is
Yeah,
done.
year five is
So
okay.
it's Injustice years 0 year
Right
to
to
year
5.
5, and
Yeah,
then Injustice 2, he went back to that world. Well,
gotcha.
what happened in between Injustice 1 and
Yep,
Injustice 2?
yep,
I'm assuming when Injustice 3 comes out, he'll pick back up on it if they throw it to him, which I hope they do. If they're going to do Injustice 3. Um, and then he's currently on the Nightwing run.
interesting.
And I've heard very good things about his Nightwing run.
Right, right.
So,
Well, we know he's done Deceased, which you and I
Cease was also
Deceased. Yep,
another one, which is
yep.
Marvel Zombies, but for DC.
Right, right. I'd be curious to check out that Nightwing run because I think Nightwing's a character that's worth having their own run personally. So I
Absolutely.
think that's great.
Mhm.
Yeah, cool. All right, anything else for our guy Tommy?
I think that's it for Tom Tom.
Good for you, Tom.
PT.
Freaking Tom Taylor. Can't recommend the guy enough. That's it's a lot of good stuff. And man, I'm just looking through like all the Injustice. There's so much out there. Holy buckets! What a just treat yourself, right? Like why not?
Oh, for Injustice?
Yes.
Yeah, don't watch the animated movie though. It's not good. It's
I think I did, and it was incredibly dumb.
it's very bad.
Oh, it was so bad.
It does not do it justice.
No,
No,
no.
it's terrible. Does not follow the storyline at all. It does its own thing. Like they still do some things from it, but like for instance,
It was truly a question for me of why on earth does this exist?
right,
Like when I watched it, I thought you've got to be
like
pooping me.
the Flash dies in that movie, and he doesn't die in Injustice 1 or 2. So wrap your head around that. So,
Like what are we doing here, fellas?
anyways,
Why?
so don't watch that movie.
No.
I do encourage you to play the video game if you're a fan of Mortal Kombat and you haven't played Injustice. It's a less violent Mortal Kombat with just DC superheroes. So, but it's great.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Love it. All right. Well, good little bone for our guy Tom Taylor. So on that thread though, speaking of alternate takes, we have What If,
Mhm.
right? Which is Marvel's effort in the animated realm to provide a similarly impactful and worthwhile set of content. And season one, season one came out 2020, and I think was largely well received, right? It was always a question of, what impact, if any, does this have on Marvel from a canon perspective? And I really don't think it's being hyped up or held to that kind of a standard. But season one, as I recall, Riley, pardon me, was worth someone's time, right? You were coming off of the the first 10 plus years of Marvel movies and content, and What If really capitalized on all of those characters and those stories by doing what Tom Taylor does, which
Mhm.
is saying, hey, what if we just tweak this little piece in this character or that little aspect of that story? And it found a really good balance of there was some goofiness occasionally mixed in, like with the Thor episode where he's just a party animal.
Yeah, that one was kind of.
That one was the most meh. I understood what they're going for, but it was meh. But the Doctor Strange episode, the What If Ultron won, excuse me, the zombies piece. There was a lot. There was a lot from that series that was, very, again, very worthwhile from the same perspective of what we're talking about with Tom Taylor here. We're just changing a little bit, and what would that look like? Now, fast forward several years, we've had several years of additional content, movies and shows, and now we get What If season two. Did they do it again, or was this not up to the same previous standard? Riley, what say you?
I would say this season, I think, was as a whole better
You thought
than
better.
season one.
Why?
I think I liked more of the episodes this time around. Like, I felt like they were more worth.
Genuinely surprised. I'm not upset. I'm delighted.
I think most of them, minus like a couple, were more worthwhile stories to tell.
Gotcha.
Like, and even the ones that I wasn't a huge fan of, there were still moments where I was like, oh, that's a really cool way to have this character in there and be cool with it.
Sure.
Now, it's kind of crazy to me how much they nerfed Thanos, for instance. In this show entirely, it's like Thanos is just a guy. If you've noticed that, haven't you?
Right.
Like even from this,
Right.
it's crazy to me. But outside of that, I was pleasantly surprised.
That's great. What were some highlights for you? I want to stay on the positive train.
Well, here's a question. Are we gonna go in depth with each episode?
Let's do.
Okay.
Let's do. And
Because
I'll say before we go into that, I'm glad to hear you say that. I came away less. I came away less whelmed. Let's say. It was okay. I was I was disappointed in the lack of what I felt like at least were lack of callbacks to the last several years in particular
mm,
of the Marvel movies. It felt like they just dipped, they went further back and they're like, we're going to kind of skip over a lot of what we just did. And they didn't do it entirely, but it didn't feel as original to me as the first season. It was still entertaining, but like Nebula, for example, and we'll get into this episode by episode, I with the Nova Corps, it's like, so we're just going back to to Guardians. Interesting. I would have expected they would have tried something more with the more recent
Mhm.
content. But anyway, let's go episode by episode.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Do we want to boom and bust it again, or do we just want to talk about it?
Let's just go. Let's go. Let's just go through episode by episode.
Okay.
Otherwise, I feel like I'm going to get into bust and be really negative, and
Fair
I
enough.
don't want to be negative.
Fair enough. So, episode 1,
Mhm.
it's Nebula joining the Nova Corps, and she's pretty much just left in space by her dad
Yep.
and sister.
The aforementioned Thanos.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Not
so
a
she
neat guy.
and then the Nova Corps like finds her, brings her, and then she's like, "Well, I'm all in on this now."
hmm
And so it's like a detective show.
Which not a bad concept.
No,
Yondu gets straight up murdered.
right?
ASAP. Tough break, Yondu.
It was weird.
Yeah.
It was not an episode that I was like, "Oh, this is definitely what I wanted to see."
hmm
Uh, Howard the Duck was the highlight of this entire episode.
That's very fair.
Like, and this is what I mean. Like, this episode, for me, did not hit. I was like, why did they make this? Howard the Duck being there as, like, this head of a casino
Yep.
was great.
Right.
So, that's where I'm at on episode 1. Howard the Duck was the highlight. I would love more Howard. Outside of that, it was okay.
Yeah. It was such a bizarre amalgamation of characters because you had Nebula, which that's a choice to highlight her first and foremost, because she is very much a supporting character. Right. She just is. So okay, we're giving her own episode. Let's see what we do with that. Howard the Duck is in it, and then I'm gonna totally blank on his name, but Jude Law's character from
Oh,
Captain Marvel.
yeah.
It's like, what, he's here. What? Okay.
Yeah, it was kind of weird how corruptible the Nova Corps Cat League leader was in
Yeah,
this.
yeah. Nova Prime's just not good. And so I gave it credit for, hey, felt like the effort was there,
Right.
right? It's like, okay, this is a creative effort. Did it land for me? What? I don't think so, but it they tried.
Right.
They tried.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Episode 2.
Episode 2.
Yeah. Peter Quill. What if Peter Quill, young Peter Quill, attacked Earth in 1988? Help me out here. How should I feel about this episode?
Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm serious.
I was
Let's think about it.
delighted. This is
That's
great.
so good. Okay, good. Good.
The fact that they pretty much were like, okay, this is the Avengers if they were in the 80s. And they're like, we get an actual Hank Pym Ant-Man
Yes.
in action.
Yes.
We get Goliath, which
Mhm, mhm.
an interesting pull, but I was okay with it
Right.
nonetheless.
Right.
They managed to make him a lot different than Hank because he went big and small,
Mhm.
and Hank really focused on the ants, which is again, it is what it is. That's great. Captain Marvel's the original Marvel.
Yes.
That was interesting.
Right.
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 It was fine. Okay. Seeing Peggy and Howard in like an old school Shield was kind of fun.
I agree. That was the highlight for me with this episode.
Chaka
Mm.
was dope.
hmm
And then having, I think it was really cool having Bucky Barnes, Winter Soldier,
Yep.
come back for this.
Yep.
Because
Yep.
and seeing Howard and Peggy be on the receiving end of it this time
Right.
and be like,
Right.
oh, we thought this wasn't real, but this is what the Russians sent us.
Right.
That's kind of insane. And so to have him break out of that training in the 80s is kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Without Steve. But it was just cool to see like his impact
Mhm.
with Howard and Peggy as well.
Mm.
Like it wasn't just Steve
Right.
that he had a close bond with in
That's a really
those
good point.
days.
Yeah.
So
I like that. It's a really good point because you're absolutely right with the movies. It was so much of a, hey, this is how the reveal of Bucky being alive impacts Steve, and there's not an opportunity really for the Bucky reveal to impact or influence any of the existing characters
Correct.
at that time. So, yeah, that's good. Again, this was just an odd one for me when it came to we're pulling from Ego, and it felt like kind of a back to back. So we're going to Guardians with Nebula. We're going to Guardians again
I didn't think
with
about it that way.
Ego. Truly, I think this is going to be a theme for me, and so I got to apologize, but I I was just waiting for some reason. My expectation, and I don't think I articulated this when we were talking about this show ahead of time, but my expectation was, hey, there's going to be some twists on more recent uh content. And I could have just read the episode titles and go,
Is that your main beef for
probably not.
this?
That's my definitely my holistic beef.
Okay, okay.
Yes. Yes. So I will strive to get beyond said beef and chew on a little bit of ham and bacon. I don't know where I'm going with this. But I agree. I thought the Avengers in the 80s was a nice twist, and my favorite part was certainly seeing old school Shield, right?
Right.
That was really cool to see that version of that apparatus. So, no question.
Cool.
Yeah. Hey, episode 3, what if Happy Hogan saved Christmas? It's Die Hard with Happy Hogan.
It's Die Hard and Home Alone with Happy Hogan.
Yeah, I actually enjoyed this.
I did too.
Yep.
It's not. I think the best surprise of it all was Hammer. The fact that it was Justin Hammer and voiced by the original actor.
Right.
I
And
thought,
Rockwell
oh,
in hot.
I was like, we should have had him again.
Mm-hmm.
We should have had him back. He was fantastic in this. And just to be like, oh yeah, I want to be just as strong as I am smart, and I'm going to be the best superhero ever. It's like, you were in prison.
You sucked at this, sir.
You
didn't do a good job.
You're taking over Avengers Tower right now. Think about this. So to have that it was surprising. Happy turning into a Hulk was I could
Purple Hulk.
I could care less.
Yeah.
That was weird. That's super weird.
Yeah.
But whatever. And it wasn't the only time we saw it,
Yeah.
which was even weirder. But all right.
Yeah. Darcy getting dropped in there.
Oh yeah, that was cool.
She's a delight. I didn't mind the Christmas theme, right? Yeah, like if you're gonna drop the episode on Christmas Eve, why not give it a little Christmas theme? I don't know how well it necessarily holds up in terms of, hey, rewatchability,
Oh,
like
right.
unless you're watching it as part of your Christmas movie or TV show marathon. Like, okay, I was able to take it for what it was worth. It's like, okay, we'll give Happy a little time here.
Also, can we just say it was scary how chilled they were, that he was just a monster?
Yeah, you would think it'd be more of a
How are we going to change your back?
disconcerting scenario, right? It's like, so we have a Hulk we're not familiar with.
And Tony Stark was just like, look, new head of security. So,
yeah, my guy. Oh, good for him. All right, anything else on episode 3?
no, that's it.
Okay, episode 4. What if Iron Man crashed into the Green Master?
I love me more Tony Stark.
Mm-hmm.
The only this is like a very minor issue. Tony's voice actor doesn't do it for me. It's off a little,
Yeah,
and I understand that they couldn't get RDJ to come back and do it, but like, it's still
it's off a little too much. Is
right.
Well, it's either this is gonna sound really goofy. It's either off. It's not off enough.
Right.
It almost needs to be very different.
Right.
Because it's just, I don't know. It feels like it's trying and very much not succeeding.
Yeah, it's rough.
Yeah.
It's super rough.
Yeah.
But outside of that, I thought this episode was fun. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed him and Gamora teaming up. But just what he can do with alien tech. And I thought it was really interesting the way that they tied it in the sense of like, oh, he didn't make it back to Earth in Avengers. So everybody on the planet thinks he's dead.
Right.
Which is a crazy thought process to
Right.
have. But yeah, and then he helped kill Thanos early, which again, crazy.
Just sorry, Thanos.
So, I mean, I guess it's pre, Infinity Gauntlet, but you know, where are you at?
Still, still. Yeah, it was. It's impossible not to enjoy an episode where you get like more of Tony Stark because it just oozes creativity,
I
right?
miss him.
With all of the tech, the sass, and part of what I've really enjoyed with Marvel and how they've approached the character of Tony Stark in the movies and even in these shows is he is simultaneously extraordinarily like capable and gifted and creative, and yet like what he makes doesn't always work. It doesn't work the way he wants it to, right? And
Right.
so there's plenty of failings in there where it's not like he's Superman OP, right? Where it's like, yeah, you're gonna win, you're Superman. Like you should win every time. Um, and so there's a lot to enjoy about that. He's also simultaneously arrogant and yet very insecure. And so it's fun spending time with that character. So
Yes.
I certainly enjoyed that aspect of the
Absolutely.
episode. Yep. And did they bring back? I was trying to find out. Did they bring back our guy for the voice of the
I
Grandmaster?
believe
I
so.
thought so
That
too.
sounded like him.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
but and I thought the dynamic between him and Tony in this was phenomenal.
Oh,
I'd have loved it on screen.
right. Like how can you not at that point? It was truly terrific.
Yeah.
So.
It's definitely one of those things where you're like, if only they were still around to have this interaction.
Mhm.
Because I'd love to see it. There's a lot of characters like that where you're like, I wish these two would just meet and see what would happen.
Right? Makes you wonder, like, would they ever do, something like this from a live action point of view,
Right.
right? Just to get the characters back. I don't know. I do know the answer is almost definitely no, but still, a boy can dream
Right.
and wish. Because I mean, I'm just looking through some of the cast names that they brought back for single episodes, like you mentioned, Giant Man from a couple of episodes prior. They brought back freaking Lawrence Fishburne
Yeah, it sounded
for
like
that. Like
him.
that's truly wild and very cool as well. But to have Lawrence Fishburne, we already mentioned Sam Rockwell as Justin Hammer. Freaking A, they had Jude Law voice Yanrog in the first episode with Nebula. It's like, are you kidding? It just bamboozles me how they at times are able to get the original actor to do the voice work, which really should be pretty accessible when you're like, hey, you're not having to do anything physical. We just need your voice,
Right.
right? That's all we need. Uh, it makes me wish they could go, 10 out of 10 with those instead of some of the time. But yeah, to have Jeff Goldblum, and we're gonna get into this a little bit, but they had Kate Blanchett come back to do Hella.
Yeah.
It's incredible. Okay, I'm talking myself into liking this more.
Oh,
Unbelievable.
well, good.
All right, let's keep moving. Episode 5. What is Captain Carter? What the Hydra Stomper?
I mean, I think we were looking forward to this episode
Mm-hmm.
because it was a
Mhm.
sequel.
Yep.
Seeing an old Bucky was refreshing. That was not something I thought I was going to see.
That was way too cool.
Yeah,
Honestly, that was way too
it
cool.
was
To have,
awesome.
like the inversion of the Steve Bucky dynamic, but inverted to an extreme where
Right.
Bucky has aged. And so obviously we know that when Steve and Bucky reunite in the movies and in the comics, they're of a similar age. This just took it decades beyond where it's like, no, Bucky's had his full life, but close to it. And here's Steve stuck in time, as the man who has had decades robbed from him.
Right.
Truly wild.
Well, yeah, you had and I mean, between those two and Peggy, they did they rotated.
Yep.
Right? But he was also in Robert Redford's
Yep.
role.
Mm-hmm.
He was the guy of S.H.I.E.L.D., which is, again, cool.
Really cool.
So
Yeah.
to just have him have his moment there when he sees Steve for the first time, he's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
come on, don't shoot me. You know who I am." It's like, oh, it's the other way around. That's fun.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
that was
a
really
lot of fun.
cool. I
A
think
lot of
bringing
fun.
the Red Room
Mhm.
into it, I
Mhm.
think brings more power to it because it ties
Yep.
in with Black Widow. And I think
Right.
that's something that was
Right.
missed.
Mm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
but was it weird to you that Falcon was just nowhere to be found?
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
in these 10 episodes,
He was conspicuous through his absence. It's like we're really not like giving him any time, particularly when we have now upgraded Falcon to the new Captain America. It's like
right?
he doesn't get any time here.
And I think
Very odd.
right, and I think that's the weirdest part because don't you think they would want to build him up and give him some momentum
Exactly.
going into his movie? Because he doesn't really have it right now.
No,
So
no, there's too much time that's passed.
I thought it was super weird. He didn't
Yeah.
make a single appearance in this entire show.
Well, and the character of Sam Wilson, again, in the in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, has been just as significant in terms of characters as they relate to Steve Rogers as Bucky Barnes has been, right? And so how can you not have Sam Wilson in here at all when you've got Bucky sprinkled throughout?
Right,
That's pretty wild.
right.
Yeah, and Sam's like it's not hard to even imagine, okay, so you've got Captain Carter, you've got Black Widow. Well, why not mix Sam in there?
Well,
Like that blends well. That fits the grouping.
pair him up with Bucky and
Mhm.
just have him be like Bucky's guy, where he's like, "Hey, I'm
Yep.
gonna send you in here. This is what you're
Yep.
gonna be doing,"
Right.
or "Hey, go give them backup because they're gonna need it."
Right.
It was odd.
I agree. I agree. That confused me as well. So I'm right there with you.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I like Widow and her together. Like
Hmm.
Widow and Carter together are great
Hmm.
because they're like sisters. But like again, I'm like,
Yeah.
you need Falcon.
Yeah. And something, and we'll get into this even more in these next few episodes. But I thought throughout that, like we've talked about, I've enjoyed the animation style. I like that it doesn't, oscillate between multiple styles. I like that it sticks with one singular, and I think really a nice blend of just animation, and yet it feels like a comic.
Right, right.
Um, in some ways as well, just with like the color tones and I liked the action throughout these episodes. Like when there
Mhm.
was action, it was well choreographed. It was well it was well animated. It was engaging. Truly, I thought it was really excellent. So, including in that episode. But yeah, okay. So episode 6, what if Kahori reshaped the world? So brand new character,
Right. Brand new premise.
brand new premise. Yeah, brand new origin, brand new all of it. Uh, I enjoyed this one as much as any of the episodes just for the sheer originality of it. Like to get a new character
Right.
was refreshing. Uh, now it was. I don't know if this is the place for a new character because what if again the premise seems to have been well, what if we do a little tweak on a known story, previously known character? So this is a vast departure from that premise. Like,
Right.
does it really fit
Well,
here?
the focus was more on the weapon
Hmm.
instead of anything else.
Hmm.
So it would have been like the equivalent of Mjolnir being lost and somebody
Yep.
else getting the powers of Thor.
Sure.
Like
Sure.
it was
Yep.
super
Yep.
weird in that aspect. I
Right.
think it worked. I don't understand how some of it worked.
Hmm.
Like that was that I don't think that was. I mean, they said it's split in half or is broken or something, but like they don't explain where they went to.
Right.
And so, and the
Right.
fact that they can just teleport from there to and now everywhere else, and and she's OP by the way. She's strong as shit, and it's
Yes.
not just her; it's
Yes.
her entire tribe. It
Correct.
just
Correct. All of a sudden, you have not just this singularly powerful individual, but you have
an
there's a
army.
lot of them.
Yeah, yeah. Marvel's making the Native Americans look really, really good in the last couple of months, which is fantastic because you don't have any like Native American
Yeah.
like superheroes or anything. So this is really cool.
Right.
And I think they did a good job with her.
Yeah.
I would be interested to see if they do anything else with her.
Mm.
Because that's kind of where I mean they used her at the end in the last episode,
Sure.
but
Sure.
I think that's the hardest part because it's like where do you go from here? Because she's that
Hmm.
brand new.
Hmm.
She's from the
Hmm.
what not 1600s, 1700s.
Oh no,
That
you're
was
closer to the
1600s
1600s. Yeah.
with
Yeah,
Spanish
and
Inquisition.
even, could be even earlier than that. Come to think of it, would have been more, Columbus, era, so late 1400s, early 1500s. So yeah,
I,
quite a callback.
by the way, was that the main conquistador guy? Was that he's supposed to be somebody that we knew? Because why was his face? Did you notice his like chin was green?
Yeah,
That was weird, wasn't it?
yeah. I don't think that was supposed to be a particular historical character. That I took it more of a hey, this individual is supposed to embody the whether it was Spain
Right,
or
the conquerors.
Portugal, right? The Europeans coming over and trying to take over, and yeah, yeah. So I enjoy the originality. I don't know that I love the instant OP. It's like wow, you're immediately the most powerful being. That just feels and the reason I don't love that is for the same reason I enjoy the episode of I love the creativity of a new character, but when it's just oh, you're Superman, it's like, well, that's too easy. They don't do they even have to try that hard? Is it even that challenging at this point when you have Matrix powers, you have Jesus powers, you have
Well,
Superman powers. It's like, wow, that's pretty good.
and that was the thing. Like they didn't really explain very well what she can do. Like you
Right.
kind of figured it out that she
Yep.
just controls space, so she
Right.
can stop things and
Mm-hmm.
move through it and go
Mm-hmm.
faster, apparently. But outside of that,
Yeah.
her learning curve was non-existent. The fact that she's dropped in, they're like, oh my gosh, she was so talented
Mm-hmm.
and so
Mm-hmm.
gifted. That's crazy. And I get that they had 25 minutes to be like, hey, here you go. But like, not even a training montage.
Right. Right.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah. Some good effort here. Did it stick the landing? Yeah, that's incomplete in my opinion, but I appreciate the effort and the originality there. So, how about season 2, episode 7? What if I found the 10 rings? Felt a little deceived here because Hela didn't like get to use the rings, and I was really hoping she was going to.
Ah, yes.
It's right there in the title, so I thought that'd be awesome. Uh, but nonetheless, we got I finally felt somewhat thank you in that it's finally referencing hey, this is a Marvel movie that came out in the last like 3 or 4 years,
Yeah.
right? Little Shang-Chi reference. I just wish we would have seen our boy Sean or Sean.
Yeah. Well, I never thought we were going to get a redeemed Hela.
Right.
It's not something I
Right.
asked for or wanted,
Yep.
but we got it. And I was
Yep.
like,
It worked.
yeah. The only thing that bothered me with this is how flippy floppy Odin was.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was very flippity floppity.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's like at the beginning, he's like, yeah, you need to learn mercy. And then
He's like, no mercy.
and then he's like, there's a new weapon? Screw mercy. We're gonna kill everybody. We want Earth now. And it's like, whoa. Didn't you just say you were done fighting all these wars and now 10 mystical magical rings come into play? And you're like,
Right.
oh, those
New
so
war.
fancy.
New war. Let's go figure this out. They could attack us
Like-
someday. Maybe. They don't know we exist, but they could attack us, guys.
Yeah. Look, I get that there's all this mysticism behind the rings.
Right.
There is not enough for me to be like
Mm-hmm.
Odin, the
Mm-hmm.
guy who has a spear that comes to him whenever he wants 10 rings, 10 wristbands. I don't get it. I don't get that part.
Yeah, why that aspect of the episode, no question, was half baked in the sense of Odin is threatened by the rings. Like, why? Why? Like, Shenwu isn't aware of Asgard, is not targeting Asgard. Like, he's just doing his thing on Earth.
Right.
And so, why Odin's going, we're threatened by the presence of these 10 rings? They're not present.
Right.
They're an entire realm away, a realm that cannot get to you. You have a one-way street. You're the only one that can get there. They can't come to you. So you know how you allow them to come to you? You open up the road and make it 2 ways.
Right.
Just don't do it.
Yeah.
So that was too bad.
Well, and also it's just so weird for a crown that size to be have Thor like, hey, you can't pick up the hammer. Like that's just crazy.
Yeah.
And I've always thought her crown thing is super weird.
Yes.
Like it's not something that I'd be like, oh yeah, that's something I want in my arsenal. Like it looks too bulky for that. But like just to see it like be too heavy to lift. I was just like, okay. But overall, I thought the episode was good. It's interesting to see her and Wenwu. Both of them got
Yep.
redeemed.
Right. Right. Yeah, they both had some good redemption arcs there. So overall I didn't mind. I was entertained by it. Yeah. All right, episode 8. What if the Avengers assembled in 1602?
So first of all, their obsession with Sharon Carter as Captain Britain.
Yep. It was
I
too much
okay.
overall.
I understand why they're doing it because they can, and they're like, we need our own like mascot essentially for this thing.
Sure, your own character or a character to uh, make the focal point of
But
this.
do they forget she got absolutely annihilated in Doctor Strange too?
Yes, they do.
So like,
Cut in half by her own shield, as it turns out.
right, and the concept, all right, for 1602 is there. I thought it was cool seeing Steve Rogers as a Robin Hood esque
That
character.
was awesome.
That was not
Right?
what I expected
That
at
was
all.
awesome.
Him, and by the way, if we can get more Scott Lang and
Just gonna
Bucky
say, if you
and
were
Bucky
gonna say it-
Barnes together,
Oh
that
my
would be
goodness. Oh
fantastic
my
because those
goodness.
two were a beautiful pairing.
Yes.
Again,
Yes.
no
And
Falcon.
where's Sam Wilson?
No Falcon in this.
See?
They're like, you know what? We're gonna do Ant-Man and Bucky, and again,
You're
it works
right.
just fine.
Putting
But
him in there is great, but you force him in there, the guy that should be isn't. Tough.
mind-boggling.
Truly.
But
Truly. It's
And-
like Robin Hood and his merry men. No
And
Sam Wilson.
Happy,
Okay.
Happy was such a chode
Oh,
in
he
this,
was
and it was
great.
great.
He was great.
It was so great.
The occasional like old English was terrific. Was
Yeah.
just terrific.
And also watching Loki just be this like want to be actor, but he just can't get it going, and
No.
he just keeps talking about all these great Shakespeare things. That was also good, but I was like,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, and yeah, for them bringing Happy back as the purple guy.
That was such a weird
Focus.
twist. Yeah, that was
That, and then the Yellow Jackets were cool. Having a bunch of people that can
yeah.
do what Ant-Man did.
Yeah.
That was cool, but
Yeah, the Happy thing was a weird twist. I get it in the sense that they had Bruce Banner, and so they're like, well, we need to have somebody that can, compete with Bruce, so it's not just the Hulk appears and the Avengers win.
right.
I enjoyed this episode probably the most out of all the episodes because it had the back in time dynamic, and so it just invites all kinds of automatically changes to the characters. And like
Right.
you said, Steve Rogers as freaking Robin Hood was a hoot. Happy as the Chode. Such a good word for him.
Oh, he was.
He was just the worst. It was incredible. I thought like this was the right blend of creative, calling back to other characters. That weirdly the part that was probably Tony's piece in this was fantastic,
Right.
right? Where he's trying to craft new technology to merge with the magic. That was really enjoyable. The emphasis on Captain Carter, and it's not her fault. It just felt forced.
It's forced.
It
It's
felt-
100% forced.
Yeah.
And they tried to make it like, well, she helped save the multiverse, but I mean, there was also a bunch of other people there, and I get that she's probably the leader, so I understand why you're doing it. But at the same time, it's like,
I would have liked to have seen.
why don't you pull more people?
Exactly right. Like pull 2 or 3 of them. Does not have to be the whole group, but pull at least one other from that world-saving group, preferably 2 others. Like give us a nice trio that's kind of hopping through time
I
here.
think Doctor Strange would have been great to have him the whole episode
Sure.
because I think that would have built
Sure.
into the last episode a lot better.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't mind, and we'll get into this shortly with the last episode. I didn't mind Doctor Strange's role as kind of the dark shadow hovering behind all the episodes, messing with time. But that's exactly where you should have had Peggy Carter and 1 or 2 others from that group trying to like help maintain the multiverse,
Right.
right? And they think that Strange Supreme is, with them, but he's clearly gone rogue, right? It's like that's missed opportunity, no question. And again, it just you can't force a minor character to be a major character.
Right.
Like they're not a major character for a reason.
Let it happen naturally.
Yeah, you also can't just gender swap and go, therefore this character is a man or this character is a woman and go, and it's the same. It's like it's not. Like you can't change that much of the character and go, and therefore we hope you all enjoy and receive this character in the exact
Right.
same way. It's just not how it works. So anyway, episode 9. Extreme Supreme intervene.
And also, like, after watching these, I realized, is like, oh, no wonder Steve went in time to go be with Peggy. My God, are they annoying together? Oh, it didn't matter what version of them were there. They were both, like, super into each other.
We get it. You like each other.
Like,
Yeesh.
just get married already.
Mhm.
Anywho, I digress. Yes, episode 9. I think the premise of this was cool. I think it would
Yes.
have been even cooler
Yes.
if there would have been more build up. Like after an
Yep.
episode, it was Strange pulling the main character from that episode and then
Yes.
trapping them, and you're like, whoa, what will happen there? Why are they gone? And then just to have them,
Mhm.
you know, kind of like in the first one
Yep.
where they took the main characters
Exactly.
from those episodes and paired them
Exactly.
together.
Right. There was clear build up taking place, even though the full reveal hadn't yet occurred.
'Cause you can
Not nearly the case here.
right, because you can sell Peggy.
Yep.
You can have Kahori, because she was great.
Yes.
Her powers worked really, really well here.
Yep.
Crazy.
Yep.
And so
And again, the fight scenes therefore were fantastic. Like the blend between her and Peggy Carter, that was great.
yeah, throw the Gamora back in there,
Mhm.
or throw
Yep.
Sakarian armored Iron Man in there,
Yep.
or just
Yep.
some other people.
Right. 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 Why not allow Hela to flex here, right? You redeemed her. Why can't she be
The Lifebringer now instead of the Deathbringer or
right,
whatever.
Why is she just like falling down into the pit?
Right.
It just felt like a waste.
Yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
get it either.
Yeah. It really
Although
really
watching her control zombies was kind of fun.
True. That was a really cool move.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
That
was a
was
lot of
cool.
fun. Just wanted more of that, right?
agreed.
Yeah. Yeah. What else on episode 9, Ryle?
Oh yeah, Ultron Killmonger here just got absolutely annihilated so quick.
Right.
He was
That's
the
right.
big bad in in
my
the last
gosh.
season, and they just completely wiped him out
Dismantled him.
immediately
Dismantled
because
so
he just
fast.
took him out of the
Yep.
armor
Yep.
with the space powers. You're
Yep.
like,
Yep. That was
stop.
That was okay.
They couldn't do that in the last season. That's the other. I think that's the main thing that bothered me is just the
Yep.
consistency across the board.
Correct.
Thanos
The changing rules. It's like,
Thanos-
what are we doing?
Thanos extremely. Like, why is he so neutered in these? I get that you want a different main villain and stuff, but like, still make him a badass at least, you know?
Yeah, you don't have to sacrifice.
Oh, sacrifice. Yeah, but anyways,
Well, we've got 2 full seasons in of What If. Here's a question for you. Now that we're that deep into it, do you want more? Kind of 2-part question. Do you want more of this? And if so, what would you like to see in a future season? Because I would guess, whether we do or don't, I would guess we're going to get more of this. It just seems like a very accessible, hey, this isn't, from a production value point of view, they've got high production value. It does not cost a great deal.
right.
So why not keep churning these out? Unless they're not getting anybody to watch this, which will never, we don't know.
Right.
I don't think it's that. I don't think that's the case. I think there's enough people watching, but I don't know.
Yeah. So I think we'll get the Captain Carter version of Civil War.
Mhm,
I think that's bound to happen,
mhm.
which is fine with me. I would actually like to see her with a fleshed out Avengers.
Yep.
Because we haven't
Yep.
really seen that. It's been very Captain America movie focused,
Yep.
which is great. I would like to see Spider-Man.
hmm
We didn't see any Spider-Man.
I know it. That's got to be the Sony thing, right? That's
You
limiting
would
that.
think, but they didn't have any problem with it beforehand,
Right.
So
Right.
that kind of bothered me.
Right.
And maybe it's because he's also getting an animated show where they're like, let's dial back on Spidey for a little bit.
Sure.
But he's such a
Sure.
linchpin.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I wouldn't mind getting like a Hulk focused. I don't think we've gotten anything Hulk focused,
No, not Hulk focused. He's been sprinkled in there, but certainly not
but
Hulk
like,
focused. Is that the Universal? That can't be. Like, not for the
hey,
show.
but he was still because he was still there. He was still in like
Yeah.
1602.
Yep.
So
Right.
those two, I feel like their presence. I think you have to throw Falcon in there at some point.
Yep.
I think there's just specific characters that I want to see get more focus. I
Yep.
wouldn't mind having Thor present again. He was present, but he wasn't really. He was just used as like, you
For
know,
laughs.
right, exactly. He was the king in 1602. He was, he did come to the 80s Avengers. That was
Right.
but yeah, I don't know. That's kind of what I want. I just want like we got Iron Man pairing up with different characters in both seasons.
Yep.
Um so yeah, I'd say that and yeah, give us more of the main guys.
Yeah. I would. I'm down for another season of this. I would like them to have a more consistent thread from start to finish of how these episodes are going to be intertwined, right?
Or don't
That's a
have them intertwined at all.
sure. Or just yeah, do one or the other. But I think that was one of the best parts of season 1 is they chose to intertwine them and it was really worthwhile payoff. And with season 2, it felt like a less of a commitment, but they still kind of wanted to do it. It just they didn't find the right balance.
Right.
And so for season 3, it's like, hey, I could see you leaning into that where you have, you know, 7 or 8 almost entirely independent episodes, but the last 2 minutes are that tease of, hey, here's how this is going to tie into, what's to come in the rest of the season. And then episodes 8 and 9, you have the payoff. So that's what I would like to see. I continue to enjoy the animation style. I do again, holistically, the part that just was a bummer to me is it just felt like an indictment on the last 4 years of Marvel, where it's like we don't really have anything we're that proud of to like,
But can you blame them?
well, right.
It's like they
Right,
admitted that it was not good.
I know, but you mentioned Spider-Man. It's like, man, not being able to pull in Spider-Man. You had a great Spider-Man movie, but you didn't pull him in. Uh, you didn't have
Moon Knight would be
right
cool.
Moon Knight, the Eternals. I know it wasn't a phenomenal movie, but it wasn't hot garbage either. It's like you can't pull any of that.
And at least they had a presence in like zombies.
Hmm.
Like they were there in zombies, I believe. If not, it was in the tease for the next season,
Sure.
but I can't remember.
Yeah.
But either way, like
But like Yelena from the Black Widow movie,
which again, that's another weird one.
right?
Why was she not in the Winter Soldier
Yeah,
spin?
I know. I know.
That because I was looking for her. I was like, oh, they brought the mom back. They didn't bring
Right. Where's Yelena?
because that should have been another thing because you got to build her up.
I know it. Yep. I know. It
Have
just
her
seemed
beat up Black Widow a little bit.
it seemed very strange. So
Maybe she
that's
wasn't old enough, I guess. I don't know. That's the only thing I could be like,
like no Kang references. And I understand there's the shenanigans, but truly, I don't think Marvel is getting away from Kang the character. I don't. I think they're going to recast him.
they should recast.
So why aren't you referencing Kang at all?
Yeah, that was the weirdest part. They didn't build up anybody from past. They just kind of took some characters that they wanted to have more time with, and
There's no Gore the God Butcher in here after you did that Thor movie with him.
yeah.
Again, I'm not
What if
hyping
Gore
these movies up.
wins?
Right, I'm not hyping these movies up as the best that Marvel has had to offer, but geez, guys, like the Guardians 3 movie just came out within the last year, and we're referencing older Guardians content. It just felt
Well, and
it was hard for me to not get caught up in that, where it's like, dang, we're really just not. We're practically ignoring it.
right, and it definitely feels intentional.
Yes.
And I'm wondering if it's because there's a bunch of characters that they have that they don't want to like. I don't know. They don't want to go in a certain way and have it be like ruin their plan. I don't know. I have no idea.
I don't either because it seems like such a safe place. Like it's an animated product. that is literally saying, "Hey, this is a free for all, right? It's just truly well, what if we did this?" You're just throwing it out there to see what sticks. So yeah, just kind of bamboozled in that respect. But I didn't hate it, right? That was the part that I got stuck on. I appreciated having this dialogue with you because you pulled out
Right.
a lot of worthwhile highlights. I'm probably most eager to go back and rewatch season one because I'm looking through those episodes. Like, yeah, there were a lot of episodes in that season that I enjoyed a great deal. So I
Right.
think there's hope. I don't think it needs to be a dunzo. I personally didn't enjoy season two as much. I love that you did. That's really good.
Right.
I wish I wasn't such a Grinch, but
Oh, good.
there we are.
Everybody has their
As their
has their things. So
Oh, okay. Shall we move on?
yeah, we should.
Let's do. So, Echo, speaking of TV shows, that came out, all 5 episodes dropped. Was it just the ninth? Is that right? When all 5 episodes
Something like
dropped?
that. It was really recent.
Yeah, so within the last week, we've each gotten through the show. Um, here's the deal. This was not by any stretch of the imagination the worst thing I've watched, right? Secret Invasion is still quite fresh. Um, it was for me overall more worthwhile than I had anticipated that it would be. So I'm grateful for that.
Right.
I don't think it stuck the landing for me. I thought the first 4 episodes were pretty solid, and the fifth episode uh, ended with more of a "I'm Ron Burgundy" energy than I think it needed to.
Yeah.
Uh, so overall, I'm not gonna watch it again, but I'm not disappointed that I spent time
Right.
watching it. And we'll get into more highlights, but that's just kind of my broad takeaway. What about you?
Um, I had to look her character up a little bit.
Mhm.
Because I was curious if the power thing was new, and it
Mhm.
seems like it
Mhm.
was new,
Definitely.
and
Definitely.
that was weird.
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
moving forward, I will be interested to see if that was just because of where she was, because she was back home,
Sure.
and that was like a home lineage thing,
Sure.
or if that's just going to be something that she just has.
Right.
It just felt unnecessary for her character,
Right.
personally. Like I
Correct. No,
understand it.
correct.
Like it's cool that they have this, like, because each episode was kind of focused on
Yep.
like that
Different
character.
aspects of the origin.
Yes, that
Yes.
person's
Yep.
lineage.
Fusion.
Yes,
Yep.
exactly.
Yep.
But like it just felt like, I don't know, it was oddly placed,
I
right? They
agree.
kind of slowly build it. Like
Yeah.
they had it at the train, and you're like, okay.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
and it felt like it was just coming out in life or death situations,
Sure. Yep.
right?
Yep. Where stakes were
So,
extremely high. Yeah.
but I love Kingpin in this.
Yeah.
We got him
Oh,
back. I think he's back now.
yes.
Um,
Talk about a
for-
talk about a rewriting of the we killed him in Hawkeye? What? No. No, we didn't.
I did that in the
No, we
comics,
didn't.
though. Him getting shot in the
Right.
eyeball
Right.
and not losing his eye
Right.
was in the comics. So you can't get mad at the TV show for writing it that way.
Oh, it just leaned hard into the comics of we don't really like that idea. Let's just not. He still got his eye, right? A little scarring, but overall,
Some
okay.
science. It had to be some like magical. You're wondering where that came from,
Oh,
right?
geez, yeah, yeah. There was they put themselves in a really tough spot with how Hawkeye ended. So I don't really hold this against the
Right.
Echo show at
Right.
all.
Right.
It just draws attention to okay, yeah, that was dumb.
But their relationship was definitely the best part of the show entirely.
Totally
Or,
agree.
like how she's like, by the way, she's not really a good guy.
Right.
She's not really a, yeah,
She's
she's not
firmly
really
in the
good.
anti-hero camp.
Oh, for sure.
Yes.
For sure.
Yes.
I thought it was a cool nod for her character's rep to be for Kingpin to be like, you're the only person that's been able to keep up with
Hang out
Daredevil.
hang with Daredevil.
You're the only one. I was like, okay, so you're giving her credit.
Yep.
And we watched it happen, so
Yep.
that's great.
It was a great fight scene.
It was fantastic.
Great fight scene.
And him being like, I've been watching these guys for 5 days, and then you come in here and ruin
Mess it up.
Yeah. So that was great.
Yeah. And
But-
great to see Daredevil, right? Like,
Right.
do I want more? Do you want more? Yeah. but at least we got like a legit, not just a in passing, like there's an actual fight scene
And an
and an
interaction,
interaction. Yes.
and I
Yes.
think that's all we needed with it,
Hmm.
to be honest.
Hmm.
Because obviously it needs to focus on her. I think if you have Daredevil in there for
Very,
too
very
long,
true.
people are like, we
We're gonna
wanna
gravitate towards
yeah,
Daredevil.
you don't wanna see her
Yeah.
at all.
Right.
Uh, I liked her uncle a lot,
Mhm.
actual uncle,
Mhm.
not Uncle Kingpin. I thought he was fantastic in this
Totally
show.
agree.
Never seen him in anything else, but
Same.
I loved him.
Same.
I think he was
He was solid.
I think he's the best actor outside of
Yep.
Kingpin
Yep.
for the whole thing.
Yeah.
So,
I don't disagree at
um,
all.
but having yeah, no, it's great to have him back. I'm scared of Kingpin again. Like
Correct.
this dude literally beat the shit out of a guy for for being mean to a deaf girl, which and you're like,
Here's the thing. He's meaner in the trailer. Like the ice cream guy is mean in the trailer. In the show, like it's actually kind of confusing. It's like he's mean to her. He just doesn't know. Like, okay, she can't
and
understand.
then he gets
It's
frustrated.
miscommunication, right? He's not a dick. In the trailer, he's a dick. You're like, okay, no, Kingpin shouldn't do this, but I get it. Truly, like if someone hadn't seen the trailer and they're
Right,
watching the show, it's like, whoa,
right.
whoa, this was
And then the fact that she just came up there and just started kicking him was
right. Well,
hilarious.
weird, like editing choice. Like, hey, you got it in the trailer, and you're gonna take that out the show? Blew me away. It blew me away. It's like, what
But
the easiest thing to
but if
include.
you think about it,
Yeah,
it makes that scene better
I
because it
agree.
shows how
Unhinged
unhinged Kingpin
is.
is
I agree.
for people he cares about.
Mm-hmm.
Like just to have that last scene with him and Echo,
Yeah.
where she brought him back to his childhood bedroom
Yes.
and
Yep.
realizing, oh, this is why the way he is. He
Yeah.
cannot let go
Yeah.
of what
Yeah.
his dad did to his mom.
Right. Right. Yeah. No, I totally agree. That is the biggest, best takeaway is a Kingpin's back, and his character is what we had experienced in the Marvel Netflix shows,
Right.
right? And so he's back to that level of influence, of power, of just sheer frightening, right? Like he is a scary freaking dude. I loved the scene where Maya, after her dad has been killed by Ronin, Hawkeye, but in his Ronin garb, when Maya just is unhinged and is setting the motorcycle through the glass, and so she's being detained by the police, and Kingpin arrives on the scene. He's just shoving cops out of the way, and cops are like, yeah, yeah, just stay out of his way. Like, do you know who that is? Like, get out of his way. That was they did such a good job in this show, and this is great storytelling. So this is great storytelling when you show what a character is rather than saying, "Hey, this is what a character is." Like you have to show it, and they showed Kingpin's the sheer might.
It also shows how ruthless his people are as well.
Correct.
Because if you remember this, when they're going into the Daredevil fight scene
Mhm.
before that, right? When they had the shootout, and they're like,
Mhm.
Kingpin, thanks you for your service. He shoots that guy. Do you remember they used that same guy that shot the other guy,
Human
yeah,
shield.
as a human shield?
Wow. Wow. Yeah, I think there was a single fight scene that I didn't find engaging
Right.
in the show. So
Absolutely.
they totally crushed it. And so chef's kiss for, hey, you're an action show, action movie. I always come back to this. It's got to be good action. And it was. Like it was above average action. It was really well choreographed, really fun to watch.
The only thing I wish we would have seen is Kingpin actually
Yep.
get in there and fight more.
Yep.
Because if at that end there is more of Maya like still had feelings
Mhm.
in the sense of I still love you.
Yep.
You're my uncle,
Yep.
but I don't want to hurt you.
Yep.
And let's try to fix him and
Yep.
fix him.
Yep.
And I wish those two would have actually fought a little bit, and it would have been a little bit harder for her to get to that point.
Yeah.
That felt a little quick.
It was quick, and I was also truly really grateful that they didn't fight because we're still fairly fresh for me coming off of the Kingpin somehow got defeated by Kate Bishop. And so it's like, okay, so we've seen Kingpin get beaten by Matt Murdock. Now he's been beaten by Kate Bishop. Now he's going to get beaten by Maya Lopez. So I was kind of grateful that punch got pulled.
See,
right? That it was they didn't actually come to fisticuffs, the two of them. That just would have felt like, damn, they've had all this buildup of Kingpin in this show that I've enjoyed, and now it would have felt for me like, yeah, okay, but the guy just keeps getting his butt
and
kicked.
I think they still could have done it though, where he looked good. Like I
Yeah,
think they still could
yeah,
have. He had her at the end of her line, and then
sure,
she does the thing as like a last second
sure.
grab, and then he
He's
leaves,
physically bested her.
and then he's just
Yeah,
emotionally broken afterwards, and
sure.
that's why he leaves.
I gotcha.
You
That's
know what I
fair.
mean?
Totally fair.
I think you can still come out of that where it's like, oh, she took a last second gamble and barely got out of there alive.
Yeah,
And that's how it should be with all those street level characters.
right,
Like they should get
right.
their ass kicked a lot before they pull it out, unless it's Spider Man.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
he's the reason that Aunt May is in trouble. And then he pretty much just beats the shit out of Kingpin in prison,
Right, right.
which was insane.
Yeah,
But
yeah. No, I agree. The relationship, and this wasn't forced, so
no,
this was really truly solid. The relationship between Kingpin and Maya was a lot of worthwhile storytelling. So that was truly great, and I appreciate it as well that Marvel didn't make the mistake, because we've mentioned this in previous Marvel shows. They didn't make the mistake of taking this. Listen, this is a minor character. You know that, but they didn't isolate her. They didn't say, okay, you're on your island and we're just going to give you your own show and it's going to be great. It's like, no, they know you have to partner a minor character up with, you just do, with
an
other,
A-lister.
yes, you absolutely do. And so I was grateful that that was such an intentional piece here, because otherwise, there's not enough story about Maya Lopez to tell where it's going to be engaging for a whole show. It's just not. Now, can you give her an episode in a, you know, street level Avengers show? Yes. Can you give her her own show and it's going to be worthwhile for all those episodes? No, it's just not. It's just not.
It makes me just look back and wonder like what they would have done years ago if
Hmm.
Daredevil was still around, if they
Yep,
would have introduced her in like a season
for
4
sure.
or season 5, because
For sure.
I believe her intro into comics was she was pretty much an undercover like agent for
In the comics,
Kingpin.
she becomes who she becomes because she's inspired by Daredevil.
Yeah.
Straight up.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. No question. No question. As far as the character goes, I thought they were off balance. I thought they went too far with reimagining her character. Like in the comics, yes, she's deaf, but she can read lips, and so she can have verbal conversations back and forth. There's no mystical power set. She's got the ability to mimic
That's
the
see
skills of others.
right. See, that's the thing I would rather have. I would rather have the mimicry
Yep,
over
yep.
the weird
Mysticism,
mysticism.
100%
And again, I
on
get
board,
why they did it, but like
but it just doesn't
the
need to be
character's
there.
already cool, and
Right.
that part specifically felt
Yep.
really forced.
Very much so.
And it's like,
It felt out of place every single time.
and like she
Every
was
single time.
naturally good at it.
All of a sudden.
It
Yeah.
was for me. It was
Yeah.
their get out of jail free card.
There
They're
you
like,
go.
how do we get it so she beats him because she shouldn't beat him essentially.
They truly they don't need to reference that ever again
I hope
with
they
her
don't.
character, and her character will be better off
I agree.
for it. Now, I will say this too. So I have that small beef with how they've reimagined the character, but I'm totally willing to let the not reading of the lips and being a verbal communicator go, because something that I was really struck by watching the show is this was such a unique viewing experience,
Mhm.
because you're watching so much of it through the subtitles, through the lens of, a literal, of a deaf person, right? And I just had to pause and go, this is what it would be like to consume content like this if I was deaf or hearing impaired,
Right.
right? And that was worthwhile, truly. I know the actress that plays Maya Lopez, like, she is deaf, she is an amputee, and that's also not something that's part of the Maya Lopez character. Like, she's not an amputee in the comics, but I thought that's really really cool that they tied that into that aspect of the character in the show because of this actress. And so I found that really unique and worthwhile. sense.
I really enjoyed it too.
Yeah,
I think
really
it
cool.
really played really
Really
well
cool.
into it because
Yeah.
it's through her eyes,
Hmm.
the whole story. So having even
Yep.
I really enjoyed the parts where it just kind
The
of
sound
the
mix.
sound goes
Yes.
dimmer, and you're
100%.
like, oh, this is
100%.
like it locks you in almost.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I agree. I think that was really cool, and just watching
They
sign
metered that
language
so well,
entirely
didn't
so
they?
cool.
Yeah. Huge respect
Oh
to
yeah,
every cast member that learned sign language for
oh
that.
for
Like
sure.
my sister worked for a number of years as a sign language interpreter for groups, and it's a whole degree to skill set. That's no small thing
No,
to as an actor or actress. Like that's pretty impressive in my opinion. That was really cool, and I did love. That was one little nugget that I enjoyed with Kingpin, like leveraging his resources to develop this technology where he and Maya can communicate because of the combination of these contact lenses and the earpieces where she can see, the ASL
oh
as he
yeah,
verbalizes. He can have it translated as she is her sign language. And speaking of the ruthlessness of Kingpin, how about just churning through different interpreters and then killing them all off? Like you pick up on that before they killed off the last one. It's like this is a third person. There was a blonde gal, red haired gal. Now there's a brunette,
I
and
didn't pick up on that part, but the fact that he just offed her and she's like, no, no, I
right,
won't say
right.
anything. I was like, wow,
Whoa,
like you're offing people that quick.
whoa.
Yeah, and then I think the point that she made too with him is she's like, if you really cared, you would have learned.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
'Cause you're like
Yep.
100%,
Correct.
100%. You
Correct.
had a lot of time to learn.
Yeah. Yeah. No, overall, here's the deal. Overall, it was worth a watch. I wish the fifth episode would have, for me, it didn't feel like it stuck the landing, but it didn't retroactively like ruin the previous four episodes for
Right,
me
I
in a
agree.
stretch of the imagination. I thought the action throughout was great. Everything we've highlighted as positives were worthwhile. And the nits that I'll pick are relatively either minor or frankly correctable, right?
Right,
If I'm willing to see, I would love to see more of this character in the future. Just drop the mysticism piece.
I agree.
I don't think that's a worthwhile enhancement of her character because, like you said, she's already cool. She's already like you can include the heritage. That piece is phenomenal. There does not need to be this mystic aspect, or at the very least, let's put some freaking boundaries on it, right?
Right,
Like,
right,
is she going to be able to heal people or things like her mother did? Okay. But to be able to just toss your hands out and all of a sudden your grandma and your cousin can
right.
like
Yeah, I know.
have like Hulk powers, like, what are we really
It's
doing
Blue
here?
Beetle Grandma all over again.
Jeepers, kittens. That was a bridge too far for me.
But
So
yeah, I think
needs to be reined in a little bit
right.
there.
I'm excited though because I think she just unleashed a new level of Kingpin
Right.
because she tapped
Right.
into something emotional, and I don't think he fully recovered.
Correct.
I don't think he will. I think when he's running for mayor,
Yeah.
I think the next time we see him, he's going to be even more brutal.
Hmm.
It's going to be
It just
fantastic.
makes me that much more excited for the Daredevil show because and this is great, like you now have another worthwhile character in that call it sub universe, right?
And,
Okay. It's like great. Yeah, let's get more of her in there.
and
That's awesome.
for the love of God, please throw Tom Holland Spider Man at him.
Hmm.
I want that
Hmm.
so bad because it will be so good. It will be so good. I would love that. And,
Believe me.
you can pair him up with Daredevil. That would also be fantastic, but it doesn't need to happen.
No, but it would be a great dynamic to have Echo, Tom Holland, Spider Man, and Matt Murdock, Daredevil.
Exactly. Here's how you do this. Have him hire the
Yes.
Scorpion, go out. He's the one who suits him up,
Yeah.
and then you just have that nice little build him up
Yep.
as the guy. It would be great.
There's no doubt.
So
Yeah, there is no doubt. No, overall, I'm pleased that it was not a train wreck.
agreed.
Right, that was
It was
so
better than
refreshing.
we thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I think they did a good job at winnowing it down to just what it needed to be with the 5 episodes. They didn't stretch it any further than that. Can we just throw a bone to our guy Biscuits?
That guy was hilarious.
First of all, who is he? Like he's a white guy. Guy's not a Native American.
You'd be surprised.
It's just incredible.
You'd be surprised.
Did he have some time? That was
He's
insane.
like grandpa.
Grandpa was great.
Grandpa just hitting on grandma the whole time.
The whole time.
was-
Like, used to go crazy when I spoke Indian to you. It's like,
And
jeez,
the
what a horn dog.
And the craziest part is they've been separated.
Right.
They've been separated for years, and he's
Right.
still like holding that flame for her.
Oh my. Yep. That candle's not going out.
No, I
No.
thought that was great.
It was. It was a great dynamic. Yeah.
So
Also the name Biscuits. Like I just couldn't
Oh,
get
yeah.
over. It's like it's tough. That's tough.
Yes.
If you're Biscuits, I'm sorry. You've got Uncle like Henry Black Crow and Biscuits. Okay.
oh, funny.
All right. Enough said. Miles, introduce our top 5 topic.
Our top 5, because Echo brought back our boy Kingpin.
Mm,
We're gonna do our top 5 Netflix series
yes. Because they're
for
canon.
Marvel. Yes, they are canon
They're
official. We got Charlie Cox back. John Bernthal is on the cusp of returning. I feel it in my bones.
You know he's
I believe
I'm a
Jessica
believer.
Jones has been rumored to be coming back soon. I think the only ones we haven't heard are Luke Cage and Danny Rand.
Yep.
I hope personally we do get the guy who played Luke Cage. I
Totally.
enjoyed him a lot
Totally.
as Luke Cage.
Phenomenal fit.
I
Yeah.
I
Look up his name. Mike, I can't remember. his
I
last name.
don't. I think the one that's okay up in the air to get recasted for me personally is Iron Fist, and I don't think that's the actor's fault. I think with the right people, he would be just fine.
For sure. For sure.
I would like the Elektra actress to come back too, personally, but again, I digress. So we're gonna rank the top 5 Netflix Marvel shows.
Absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. Yeah, I will go first. Mike Coulter. That's right. That was
He's a
I knew his
stud.
first name was Mike. I couldn't remember his last name at all. But all right. Well, let's get into it, Riles. Top 5. My number 5 is the Defenders. Cool concept. The execution was a little lacking. This was and this is going to come up later in my list, but this became a pattern for these Netflix shows where they would introduce the alleged who you were led to believe was the main villain right away and then kill that main villain off unexpectedly halfway through.
Oh God, yes.
Yep. And there was a choice in the
A
show.
great actress.
I know.
It was Susan Sarandon, was it not?
No, not parts. Stand by.
The leader of the hand? That wasn't Susan Sarandon?
No, but I know why you're saying Susan Sarandon because the two actresses look very, very similar. Sigourney Weaver.
Shit.
Yep.
I knew that.
No, great movie. That's a legitimate
I need to look up Susan Sarandon now.
guess on your part. They look physically. They have a very
I
similar.
had her face in my head. I was like, it's the
Yep.
girl from Alien.
Yep. You got it. Old Sigourney Weaver. So my recollection.
Oh, they look very similar.
Very.
I feel.
No,
I
very-
don't
you
feel
should,
bad now.
No, you should feel very justified. I wanted it to be great, and it was good. It wasn't bad, but it was just good. It wasn't great. in my
It was
opinion.
good for Elektra. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
They
do.
turned her into an absolute
Monster.
unit.
Yeah,
Not that she
Yeah.
wasn't before, but holy crap.
yeah, a little bit of an upgrade there. So that's my number 5. The
Well,
Defenders.
Fun fact, that's also my number 5. Yes. I think I know our number 6s. So number 5, yes, for all those same reasons. I thought Sigourney was great until she
Yeah.
was dead. And then I think it really built up the mysticism side of the hand,
Mm,
which is something I enjoyed because that is a part of them,
very much so.
comics.
Yep.
So, and to have them have Elektra as
Right.
their person was
Yep. Very
phenomenal.
solid.
So, yeah, that's my number 5.
Yep. Totally agree.
Okay. Number 4,
Mhm.
I have Luke Cage.
Mhm.
Um,
Spoilers right there with you.
yes, yes. The first 7 episodes were phenomenal.
Yes.
The guy who played Cottonmouth,
Yes.
phenomenal. He's a great actor.
Correct.
The fact that they killed him was bullshit because he was the best part of the show.
That was so frustrating. And you remember who played him, right?
Yes, I was trying
Yeah.
to. I couldn't remember. Our Blade, the guy who's going to play
Yes,
Blade now.
Mahershala Ali.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, absolute stud. I was so pissed. They made him so good. He was a threat. He was another like gangster level. I would
Right.
have loved it if they would have kept him around and watched him like interact with Kingpin. That would have been perfect.
Mhm.
Him teaming up with Kingpin would have been great.
Mhm.
Building up Kingpin even more.
Yep.
But they just were like, nah. And I did not like his sister.
No.
His sister was not good. I thought the main villain in the second one wasn't that fantastic. As much. He was okay,
Yeah.
but
I truly didn't even watch season 2, Riles. I mean, when you have a actor of the caliber of Mahershala Ali and you kill the guy off, like you're not going to recover from that
no.
in terms of hey, we found someone better. He's that good, and it's not like it freed him up to play Blade immediately. We're still waiting on that.
Right.
So there wasn't a practical. Well, this is how that's going to help us out here. So it was. I thought there was a lot of potential in the show, and when they killed off Cottonmouth, like that just was again, you're
It's
just
a
not going to
bummer.
recover from that.
It's a
So that
bummer.
was really too bad, really too bad. But yeah, that's my number 4 as well. I think we're gonna go pretty close to top to bottom
It'll
here
probably
on
be
this.
pretty close.
I
I think our
agree.
2 and 3 might be different.
Okay,
But go ahead and hit 3.
my number 3 is Jessica Jones.
Okay, it's the exact same.
Which is okay. Which is okay. This is another one of those. Hey, I just watched season 1. Like I didn't come back for season 2.
So for Jessica, I watched the first 2 seasons. I did not
Yeah.
watch the third one.
They even had a third season.
Yes, because they build up
Nikes.
Hellcat in the third one.
Okay,
Which I was not a fan of in the first place.
sure.
Season 1 was so good. It was another one of those
Yeah, it
things
was.
where once they killed him off, she does not have a strong enough rogues gallery to go somewhere else.
No,
Like that is her person. That is her
Right.
arch nemesis.
right,
Is the Purple Man.
right.
Now, I wish he would have turned purple.
Huh.
I thought that would have been cool.
Yeah.
I liked the way that he used Luke Cage against her.
Mm, mhm,
That whole dynamic
mhm.
was phenomenal, and they
Mhm.
executed that terrible, horrible, awful backstory of hers,
Yes,
and
yes.
they didn't go too far with it.
Right.
But it was heavily implied what she went through,
Mhm.
and to have her get her redemption,
Yeah.
it's fantastic. But
Right.
season 2 was not the best,
Right.
and I don't think that season 3 was great either, from what I understand. And I didn't see season 3.
Yeah, season 1 was very, very effective, and I will never. I wish I could. I will never forget a couple of things from season 1 of that show. It was so violent.
Oh, yeah.
It was so freaking violent. I will never forget in the very first episode where Jessica Jones is working with in the private detective role, working with the young gal, and she thinks she's helped her, and then at the very end of the episode, the young gal just blows her parents away, like in the elevator, just super grim. And then sometime later, totally unrelated,
I
but
don't even remember.
yeah, I that was a whoa, wait a minute. That was super dark, effective, but really dark. And then I just remember it was one of the last episodes of that season where Kilgrave had one of the characters like putting his own hand in the in the sink garbage disposal.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh. It was so that part of it, like I don't enjoy like ugh,
By
that's
the
just
way,
gross.
David Tennant was phenomenal.
He was horrific.
He's a great actor.
He was way, way too effective. He was outstanding. So it was really well done. It was also 100% not my cup of tea. But regardless, I was still able to watch and certainly enjoy. Enjoy. I don't know if that's the right word. I was able to respect the heck out of the show because it was really well done. So Punisher number 2.
Yes,
Mhm.
my number 2 is The Punisher. Season 1,
In particular.
phenomenal. Now,
Yeah,
we talk
totally
about
agree.
violent. This might be the most violent of the
Boy.
Netflix shows.
Oh,
The first
boy.
season. The second season wasn't as violent.
Yeah.
Still very violent, but not as
Okay.
violent. But let's be real. It's the Punisher. You know what you're getting into.
Right.
Out of all of them, he should be the most violent because he kills people. He kills bad people
Yeah.
all the time. It is great. But
It's such a phenomenal season of television.
and
It's so good.
talk about perfect. By the way, talk about a perfectly executed spin-off series.
Yes.
He was
Yes.
phenomenal in Daredevil.
Right.
Okay, his
Right.
prison scene where he stabs like
Everybody.
85
Just
people
everybody.
because the Kingpin's like, I'm done with you. And he's like, okay, that's fine. I'm going to kill all of these people with a toothpick. Essentially, he broke a room in half
Right.
and just started going to town.
Right. Right.
Wow.
Yeah. Top-notch execution on the introduction of the character in Daredevil season 2. And to have him get his own show and get his own series, I don't know if it should have worked, but it freaking worked.
It worked so
It
well.
worked so doggone well. And the dynamic of him and Karen Page was an unexpectedly great pairing as she's trying to, keep him from just falling straight into the darkness. It was phenomenal. Yeah, I can't say enough good things about season 1. Season 2, I know you said you got through. I did not. It just didn't have the same level of energy. But season 1 will always just live in my mind as one of the best seasons of television I've
Well,
watched.
and the plot twists were perfect.
Yes.
They were perfectly executed plot
Yes.
twists.
Yes.
So,
They were phenomenal. Yeah. So I think Daredevil's probably number 1.
oh, by a mile. When Vincent D'Onofrio comes on the screen, to be honest with you, I don't think anyone will ever be able to do Kingpin like that.
I agree.
I
I agree.
He has
Totally
the
agree.
vibrato.
Yep.
He has the intensity. As soon as
Yep.
you hit, you're like, whenever he's on the screen, it's another level.
Right.
Which is exactly
Right.
what you want from a villain.
Yeah.
He nails it every freaking time.
Right.
It's insane.
And that's what every worthwhile superhero, show or movie demands and absolutely needs is, yeah, you got to have worthwhile hero or heroes, but you have to pair them up with a villain that is their match and maybe even beyond that. And without question, Charlie Cox's Matt Murdock is excellent. But yeah, Vincent D'Onofrio and his portrayal of Kingpin, that's not going to be touched. And you can put other people in a Daredevil costume, and there will be, right? But yeah, Vincent D'Onofrio, like that's an all-timer right there.
By far.
And that's not to disparage what Charlie Cox has done. He's been terrific, but yeah, Vincent stands alone.
Yeah, he's not. He's great, Matt Murdock. Easily better than Ben Affleck. But,
Yeah.
he's not at that level where he's like Robert Downey Jr. and Tony Stark.
Correct.
D'Onofrio is that guy for Kingpin.
Yeah.
It's like, that's a match made in heaven.
Yeah.
You don't get much better than
No,
that.
it's perfect. Yeah, it's perfect. It's really fascinating to me on reflection that these shows got made. Honestly,
I know.
it's truly wild. And Daredevil makes enough sense. He has had enough of a comics following. He's been a significant enough Marvel character, but the rest of these, it's pretty incredible that they were able to get produced and each in their own right. Were they able to sustain the excellence throughout their run? No, I don't think so. However, at no point did any of these shows have a complete drop off in quality where you're going, this is just trash.
Right.
It was just hey, this is not not an area of interest. So pretty impressive. Good
Great.
stuff, Riles.
Yes, sir. I think that's it.
I think
we
it
can
is.
wrap it. We tie the bow. So,
Put the bow on it.
on that note,
Mhm.
thank you for watching.
Always. Appreciate it, guys.
Peace.